Hey everyone, Corey from Aquarium Co-op. Today we're talking about whatever you guys present. We've been chatting in the chat as we normally do about an hour before we go live. So if you ever have extra time, you can join us. You show up. Yep, I'm not talking yet, but I'm in the chat and answering some questions. Sometimes it's real narrow niche stuff, and sometimes it's like, wow, it's a great question we're going to talk about. So that's where I'm going to start today. We actually have some questions that came in. And I didn't write down who said the question, so just know that. This person said, I know that there's no topic, but I do have a question. In my time of keeping egg layers, I've never had accidental fry, but I do get the occasional live fry that escapes being eaten. Then they followed up and said, I was feeding every third day, but I just started feeding every other day. So when you're looking for passive breeding, that would be live bears, in my opinion, unless you're going out of your way to like move the females so they can drop in isolation. But if you just have a tank, like let's say this tank behind me, and if I was really trying, like this tank would be really hard to get fry out of. Not that it is impossible, but it would be hard. But if I was trying to get fry, and that was my goal, the number one key is always more food. More often, more protein, more in general, all of those things. So feeding every third day, yeah, you're gonna have to do very little maintenance, as in water parameters will stay really good as you test it. All of that will be great, except you'll rarely ever get enough nutrients into the fish to get them to breed. Also, I find that you don't even get best colors out of it most often. So I think there's layers of breeding passively. The first one would be like just feeding every day. Put food in, pick something, doesn't really matter, and make sure they get enough that everybody gets to eat. Then there's, like the next level, and that would be feeding, I would say, fry food every day. What does that mean? That means when I first experienced this in my hobby many years ago was somehow the fish room would run completely different if I fed live baby brine every day. And it didn't make sense at the time, but I would have less disease, I would make more babies, I would discover more things, all the things that I would judge like, wow, my fish room's doing great, would happen if I was feeding baby brine shrimp. And when I stopped feeding live baby brine shrimp, those things would slowly go away. It wasn't necessarily a switch on and off, but it would be like a month out from not feeding baby brine, I'm not really seeing any more of those, ooh, that's neat, oh, look what happened here, happening anymore. Lately, I've been able to replicate that, though, with the Magic Small Fish Feed. And I think it's because I'm actually feeding small food all the time. Because without brine shrimp, the only other time I was really feeding small foods like that was frozen cyclops. But not every tank would get frozen cyclops, where when I fed brine shrimp, I would hatch so much that every single aquarium would get some. Even if there was this big fish, I'd be like, well, here's a little bit of a squirt, because it's so easy just to hatch more. And you would never know exactly how much you needed at any one feeding, because you might have a new batch of fry, or you wouldn't, and you just got in the routine of, I was doing 2 tablespoons of brine shrimp every day. And so when I got rid of that, though, or out of that cycle, because I got busy, I wouldn't replace it with 2 tablespoons of small foods going into tanks. I would target feed, like, yeah, I've got fry in here, I'll feed. I've got this over here, I'll feed. But it wasn't every single tank got fry food. And so once and I want to be fair here, I did have this at other times without realizing it. Like for a while having Cypachromis and some shell dwellers and other things, I was making these very small food mixes. It was Cyclop E's, it was krill fines, it was golden pearls when they actually still had brine shrimp in it, and like a couple other little things. It was all just powdery food, but even still, it only went into the tanks that had the fish that I thought needed it. But I would get those results. So then as I, kind of stumbled upon and found after, years of looking for fish food, the Magic Small Fish Feed, that and it even took a while because it was like, okay, small food, small fish, right? And that's working really well. But then out of the corner of your eye, you keep seeing like bigger fish are really eating this. It's the closest thing I've found to treating it like frozen, or not frozen, but live baby brine. Even more so than frozen brine, in my opinion, because frozen brine doesn't stay mid-water. I find it really like it'll slowly, if you got a lot of turbulence, it'll kind of go, but the frozen doesn't work as well as live, and doesn't work as well as the Magic Small Fish feed. That being said, live baby brine is always going to be better at being live than Magic Small Fish feed because it actually is live. So where I'm going with this is your fish lay eggs every day, especially if they're egg scatterers like rainbow fish, these rosy barbs, tetras, white clouds, celestial pearl danios, so many fish laying eggs every day. Which means every day you have eggs hatching. And if you have eggs hatching every day, normally, like a rainbow fry can't go more than about 36 hours without eating. It just dies from starvation. So if you're not putting in, I don't want to call them microscopic, very small foods every day, the odds of the babies finding food before they're eaten or they starve to death are very low. And so a food that like these guys will eat, Magic Small Fish Feed, if they'll eat that food, I can put it in every day. Yes, I'm also putting in larger pellets and frozen foods for the eel and all of these things. But the fact that every day there's some eggs hatching. Let's say there's, in your aquarium, let's say there's 50 eggs every day that hatch. Well, the reality is probably 48 of them every day they hatch and they get eaten. And then there's the two where, okay, those two can find some food, but even one of those gets eaten. So then you've got the one that might make it to the next day and the next day. And each day they make it, they get smarter. Watch out for that guy. I watch him eat 49 of my brothers and sisters. And they get a little bit bigger. They get a little bit faster. They kind of learn where the food goes. So part of it is you got to get the food to go everywhere. You can't just like take the Hikari First Bites, put it on the top of the water in the corner, and then have all the big fish like, yeah, to get there though, I would just eat you. So it has to be a food like live baby brine or Magic Small Fish Feed or something else that will go everywhere in the tank so that when that fry is hiding at the corner of that piece of wood or rock, it can grab it and still stay in the nook and cranny. Because that's what fish do. Fish hide where bigger fish can't get to them. And so the food's got to get in there, though. If it doesn't get in there, they can't go out and eat it without getting eaten themselves. So I think everybody wants this. So if you want free fish and you want the best color, my opinion is feed enough every day. Feed a food that will feed babies every day. Doesn't have to be our food. But I strongly suggest that you have a food in there that every day could feed babies. If you want to just passively get babies. Now that's really going to bump up your live bear production because they just give birth to live fish and that's great. But if you want to start seeing like, hey, I just made an emperor tetra. Hey, I just got one random barb. Hey, there's 2 white clouds in here. That comes from the tiny food every day. And we see that outside in ponds, by the way. So when you're out in a pond, you've got pollen going into your pond every day. You've got green water sometimes. You've got leaves decomposing. You've got all these little things going on. Maybe gnats getting in there. You've got all this going on. And that is that, not live food. That is that baby food every day. Now, it's not in big quantities, but it's some. And so that's where we'll see people that basically can't breed fish, put them outside, now they have luck. One, there's just extra food, right? So in this case where this person was feeding every third day, if they feed their pond every third day, in between those days, all the stuff that's falling into the pond is extra food. So people, humans in general, we're really bad about changing the amount of foods we feed. So if I put 1 teaspoon of food in a tank, 2 years later, I'm probably still putting 1 teaspoon of food in the tank. Kind of no matter how many fish there are or how many shrimp or if someone else is also feeding. Like in general, we're just really bad at adapting to the weight of the fish, like how big are the fish now? How many fish do I have? How many plants do I have? What are the water changes I'm doing? Instead, we kind of do this mental calculation of, that seems right. And it's that way forever. We do it with dogs and cats and other pets too. We kind of go, yeah, they're doing well on this. And then it just becomes that forever. The bulk majority of people, myself included, you pick basically how much you're going to feed your dog or cat. You pick what foods you're going to feed, and you do that for years and years on end. Until like, oh, there's a shortage, or oh, there's a health issue, I'm going to change it. And we do that with our aquariums too. And so if the goal is to put weight on your dog, you feed it more, right? If you know that the dog is nursing puppies, it might get a little more food or a little bit more nutritious food, right? And so if we're trying to cultivate that in our aquarium, that's the way we should be approaching it and thinking about it too. You also get extra benefits of like extra waste in the aquarium. Helps the plants grow a little bit. You'll get shrimp that are now getting food. You'll also make more snails, which could be a bummer if you don't want them. But all of those things, everything will be more when you feed more. Could be a curse or it could be amazing. I think it's amazing. So I actively try to do that. I thought it was overfeeding leading to disease, but I changed my water weekly, and this has been an issue for 5+ months. So I could not be more of a conspiracy theorist, which I don't think anyone's directly leading this conspiracy, but I'm convinced that all of us, myself included, really misunderstand aquariums. In that we've been trained for the last 50 years that nitrates are terrible and that water changes are magically good. And, I was having a long, in-depth conversation last night about tropical fish versus cool water fish and how that doesn't even really exist. Most of the fish that we consider tropical also can be found in very cool waters at certain times of the year, and we lump them into a category and go, that's where you live. That's it. And we know just from history that guppies can go down in the 50s and things like that, but guppies that we're getting from overseas, it just never gets that cold. Like, we discount the source of fish so much in that, an angel that's lived its life in the Czech Republic versus Florida versus the wild, and are 5 generations deep, are adapted much differently. And so with this person that says, I was feeding a lot, I'm having problems, where I'm going with that is, I'm not convinced that higher nitrates within a reason here, and everyone could debate what high is, actually leads to disease. I think overcrowding could. I think spoiled food maybe could have something to it. I think bad water, like tap water. I think there's this universal understanding that nitrates in an aquarium, bad. Water change from your tap, good. But that's not universal. Around the world, our tap waters are very different. Not even just pH and hardness, but contaminant-wise, or chemical-wise, or what is your local water doing? Maybe it's got a ton of CO2 in it, so that it, isn't too high going through the pipes leading to buildup. Maybe it's got stuff to make it more acidic in there, or that is a CO2. Maybe it's got stuff to buffer it up, so it's not so acidic and eating away at the pipes. All of these things get kind of jammed into the water, and just as a blanket statement, we will dispense to anybody. When in doubt, change it out. Change the water. And so often, that doesn't necessarily help. You create some stress just from adding chemicals in. Maybe the water temperature's not quite right. Maybe it's just... I've watched people gravel vac, and it's muddy in the aquarium because they're just shaking the gravel all around. Like, we live in this ideal where doing this thing will make it better. However, it doesn't always make it better. And so I think we need to approach it from is overfeeding making your fish sick? Yes, possibly. But I think it's not as likely. In general, what do you get from overfeeding? Like, well, more nutrients. They don't have to fight for food. Like, okay, well, that's good. Those are good things. Diversity a lot of times, multiple types of food, like that's good too. Maybe you're going, oh, but they're getting too fat, like getting a fatty liver or something like that. Like, yes, that would take a long time, many months, and you'd have to really be overfeeding foods that are high in fats and proteins to accomplish that. And is that likely to be bringing on disease, though? In my experience, no. No, it's not. It's you can see some very fat fish that also aren't getting diseases weekly and things like that. So this kind of leads into the next question that people were asking before, and I'm going to read that here. And it's kind of two parts. Are some fish illnesses more likely to bother some types of fish than others? I've got something going on with my live bears in a tank that also has corydoras and coryloches. And then the second part was, can I talk about internal parasites and how to treat them between Paraclins and ProZipro and Expel P? And is it possible to ever fully get rid of them? So when it comes to illnesses, do they only affect certain types of fish? The answer is kind of yes and no. I would say for our fish room science of being a fish nerd with fish tanks, yes, it does work that way. And what I mean by that is, we grab fish from all around the world and we throw them into an aquarium. And so you've got guppies. And are they wild caught? Are they from like Venezuela? No, they're from a farm. Okay, well, are they from Thailand? Are they from Asia? Are they from Sri Lanka? Are they from Florida? And the answer is probably all of those. So we have fish that have, basically been raised up, got to wholesalers, got to stores, got to breeders, got to fish rooms, got to your tank. And we've got a very mixed background. Now, some of those will be, they need really high pH. Some will need low pH. Some will need really high temps. Some will need low temps, right? And so it's going to be very hard to keep all of them super happy. So with live bears in particular, oftentimes what we see is some of them will be raised in brackish water. So they're not even really going to thrive in fresh water. You'll see that some are raised in very hot temperatures. In some of the farms, they never see bacteria. The UV sterilization is so high that they actually have never seen bacteria that have been in your aquarium before. So they're just going to crash. They are just, imagine you're now 20 years old, you've been raised in a bubble, and then they put you on an airplane and like, good luck. Hope you don't catch anything. Your body has never seen any cold or flu or anything before. When it does hit you, it's going to hit you just like a ton of bricks. You've got no defenses for it. And that's what can happen in our home aquarium. And so in this aquarium where we're looking at coryloches and panda corydoras and guppies, the guppies pretty much are almost never wild caught because people don't like the way those look. The panda corydoras, usually not wild caught, usually bred. And the coryloches about 50-50. Now, they all kind of live in different parts of the aquarium. They like different temperatures. It's not uncommon to see one species in a tank get sick. So you could do the mental walkthrough here of like, okay, my guppies, they've got fin rot, and this female, the skin's sloughing off and the fins are eroding, but the male's still trying to breed with the female. And as the male contacts the female, it picks up that bacteria, and now it's starting to have the problem, right? Or you've got a fish that's sick, it's pooping, it's got parasite eggs and things like that coming out, and then the next fish eats that, and now it has it inside, those hatch out, and the cycle continues. So a lot of times what we see is we don't see is fish are affected differently. So for instance, live bear or like Camellianus redworms, right? A redworm that comes out of the anus, it will basically starve out and kill live bears. It taxes the system. They succumb to it. They lose weight. It's not good. But that same disease or same parasite on an angelfish, which also get it, they can eat enough, they're big enough, they're robust enough that they'll basically live their whole lives with it. You'd be like, oh yeah, the live till it was 8. Meanwhile, it just never looked as good as it could. It wasn't quite right, but it didn't die. So when we're talking about internal parasites, which was kind of the next part, an addendum to that, can we ever fully get rid of them? What are the differences? So I'll start with the differences. What are the differences between Paraclens and PraziPro? Okay, so Paraclens is 2 meds put together. It's a cocktail of meds. It is metronidazole, which can work as deworming, and then it's praziquantel, which also deworms. Now, the concentration of those 2 meds are set at a specific rate, and in general, it's a broad anti-internal parasite. It does some external too, but for the most part, you use it to get rid of worms and things inside the fish, maybe some stuff in the gills. That's what it's used for. Then you've got, well, what's PraziPro? Well, it's praziquantel. And you're like, wait, but Paraclens has praziquantel in it. Yes, but different dosages. So the PraziPro has a higher concentration of praziquantel. You could use those, so you could go, I'm going to treat with Paraclens for a week, then take a week off. Now I'm going to treat with PraziPro, and you could get some different parasites. Like, that doesn't make sense, but it's at a higher strength, so that if you were on the line, like, okay, here's the PraziPro in Paraclens, and these 2, like, let's say you've got 5 different worms. 3 of them, yep, they get taken out by a Paraclens, no problem. And 2 of them needed a higher concentration of praziquantel to get them. That's where using PraziPro could, it actually got those too, right? And so the other thing is dosages are always weird between all the stuff. So with Paraclens, you're supposed to like dose and then water change and dose and water change and dose and water change. PraziPro, you dose once, you let it sit for the week. That's actually how I started my way I do meds of like, wait, so the same med, 2 different manufacturers. I realize they're different dosages, but 2 different manufacturers. One says change water every day. The other one says change water once a week. And like, well, I've used both these medications as directed and had good results with both. So then I started going, well, what if I dose Paraclens and change the water every 3 days or 4 days? And then I went to a week and I was like, I get the same results. I personally, I can't guarantee you would, but I shouldn't say everybody. Lots of people who have done what I do say they get the results I do. And that is at 1 week with Paraclens, I get the same results as if I treat it and water change every day. That's just been my experience. So how I treat it is I put the meds in, I let it sit for the week, and it seems to work really well for me. And so that was my first, interaction with like, okay, so some of this is just marketing hype. You sell 5x as many meds if you make people water change and redose it every day than if you dose once and let it set for a week, right? So yes, now we're going to go to Expel P. What is Expel P? Well, Expel P, the active ingredient is levamisole. It's another type of dewormer. In general, this dewormer doesn't even kill some of the things we want it to kill. It paralyzes them. And so by paralyzing Camellinus redworm, the redworm detaches from the fish, falls out, poops out, ends up at the bottom of the aquarium. And it's important to kind of gravel vac and work on that. Otherwise, if you don't, your Corydoras might just come along and eat it and keep the cycle going. So you could see how maybe doing some different dewormers would help, because the Camellinus redworm is not affected by praziquantel. It's also not affected by metronidazole. So Paraclens and ProziPro won't get rid of the red worm. So that's where this third one will. But Expel P will get rid of some of those, like some of the other types of nematodes and internal parasites. No one med of those three, at least, will get rid of everything. If it did, that's all we would sell, and that's all anyone would use. And it's like humans. If we had one pill that cured everything, we would only ever use that one pill. But there's tons of different medications that all do different things. And these are the things that treat so many common things we run into. There's still going to be things, even if you use all those three, you could still have parasites that we just don't even know how to treat. Some things literally have no cure. So can we ever achieve 100% clean fish? I think as a hobbyist, no. That's my opinion. Can you do it if you have, can Dan's fish pull it off? Pretty likely. I still think it's hard to, go to a doctor, right? And you get the best doctor in the world, and they go, you are completely healthy. Nothing could go wrong at all. Only if they're looking for everything. And it's so difficult to see everything that I don't think they can earnestly say, oh yes, we have checked for everything. There is zero chance you could be sick in any way. However, you hire the world's best experts. I think that's the best you can do. I don't think there's an alternative of like, oh, go do this thing, you'll get better results. With a Dan's fish, if you have 2 active people with a microscope doing labs on the fish all day long, every day, are you going to be able to find fish that are cleaner? No. Right? But I don't think they're actually going to be 100% clean as a whistle. Now, the good news is fish don't have to be clean as a whistle from disease. In the wild, routinely fish live with disease. Just like all of us here listening to this right now, there's something wrong with us, whether you know it or not. You got like, oh yeah, you're 11 years away from hypertension. You're 2 weeks away from the flu. Like you're immunocompromised a little bit. All of these things. The good news is living creatures are very good at battling bacteria and funguses and parasites. And so in the wild, what happens is like ick exists, tapeworms exist, all these things exist, but not in the densities that will make the fish succumb to it. So like in the wild, fish gets ick, great. Ick hatches off, goes into the substrate, the gravel, and the fish might swim away 3 miles. It doesn't reattach to it. Not a problem, right? So being that we don't have to get them 100% clean, I realize I'm being told praziquantal, not quintanol. Is it? It is praziquantal. Fair enough. I will submit a formal complaint and have it changed worldwide to praziquantal instead of quantal. But back to the thing at hand, we don't have to get them fully clean. We have to get them clean enough that what we do as aquarists makes them thrive. And that would be feeding really well, making sure the water doesn't become terrible, making sure they don't have a ton of stress. In the wild, you got to worry that around every corner someone's trying to eat me. That's probably not going on in your aquarium. So by lowering stress, by feeding quality foods and things like that, we find that the fish don't necessarily succumb to it. Now, why do guppies or live bears typically succumb to camelinus redworm as opposed to like the angels we talked about? Well, in general, they really want water quality to be very pure because they haven't lived with, bacteria and other things if they've been grown in sterile environments. So that's against them. Maybe the pH isn't great. Maybe they're used to being in brackish water. So all of those things are already against them. Then you've got the stress of breeding all the time. They want to breed all the time. And then if you throw some bacterial infections or parasites in there as well, it's a domino effect of like, oh, there it goes. And it's, if you've ever been around someone who's elderly, if you had an elderly family member and you kind of watch where, ooh, they got a cold and then it turned into pneumonia and then sometimes it kills them. And that's because as we get older, our bodies aren't as robust. We don't have as good of an immune system. We might have other things ailing us as you get older. Sometimes like, well, that person had a heart condition, or they got a bad liver, or they got this going on, or they had that happen, or any of these things. It's the compounding of them. Any one shouldn't kill a fish or a human, but, you put them together and they start stacking up. So Stella says most of the meds have oxidized out long before a week of letting it sit. Yes, and I've had many conversations with people making the meds and everything, and I always go, but why do I have this effect? And they're like, oh well, probably by day 3 it was cured. And I was like, so you're telling me whether I leave it in for 1 week or 3 days, I get the same result? I'm going to just do that because there's no detriment to me. So if you go, well, the meds are gone by day 3, like, cool, then why do I need to change water? Well, you don't. So for me, I have just found, and I will be the first to admit, I stop testing things when things work. When I go, oh wow, yeah, I don't have fish dying anymore. I don't go, well, could I do it in 6.5 days? What about 6 days? What about 5.5 days? What about? Instead, I just go with what works really well for me, and that is what has worked well for me. Is there a bacterial infection that appears like a fungal infection? I think a lot of times people have a hard time identifying disease. Oftentimes when you have a fungal infection, you will have a bacterial infection, because you get this thing kind of growing, right? And then let's say you use salt or you use some kind of antifungal and it gets rid of that fungus. A lot of times you leave a wound behind and that can get or be infected also. And so in general, if we've got fungus, my recommendation that I would tell people is like use some Icex, which helps fight fungal. And then also we use something that has erythromycin, like americin. And so that 1-2 punch will usually get both the things. And the hardest part of all disease, in my opinion, is trying to identify what it is, because most often we get a grainy picture where someone was like trying to take a picture of a fish. And you're like, no, you see right there, like I caught the tail. And they're like, I don't know, man. That's like a potato phone there. Like you just got to explain it. And they're like, well, it's kind of like a stringy, bubbly, cottony, reddy thing. And then over days it did things. And you're just like, And so it becomes a lot easier to go, well, salt will treat fungal and bacterial and external parasites. Like it will do all of those. And so if the end result is put this medicine or this salt in, and then roughly a week later, you don't have the problem anymore, we consider that to be fixed. The average hobbyist would. And as long as it doesn't keep coming back, it is fixed. But it doesn't go over so well when you're like, well, you're going to need to spend a lot of money and a lot of time to try and diagnose what exactly is going wrong. And then we can try and treat it. So it's like, well, you could spend, let's say you could spend $500+ trying to diagnose what's wrong. Or you can spend $10 with an 85% chance you cure it. Most people go, well, I'll spend the $10. And most times it does cure it. And not all the time. But then after it's stubborn, you might go, okay, well, between 2 meds, right? Between 2 meds, you can get to 95%. There's still that 5%. You're like, yep, then you could go down the rabbit hole. You could take it to a vet. You could have gram staining done on bacterias. You could have all kinds of stuff. You know, when we're really trying to diagnose disease at labs, as in like a facility like a Dan's Fish, like a breeder, not a breeder, but a farm. Usually you might have thousands of these animals. Let's say you've got 3,000 of these and you're losing them. They're dying. I don't know what's wrong. Oftentimes, you will take some that have just died, or you will euthanize one or two and dissect and start looking internally and like what is inside the stomachs, what is going on with livers and things like that. And you work that up all day long, and then you come out with a treatment plan going, I think this is what's happening. I think I've identified this. And oftentimes, by the way, it's not one thing. It's like, oh, actually, we have three things going on. This is how I think I'm going to approach this problem. Hopefully, we will take out the problems before we take out the fish, because if you've ever taken meds yourself, sometimes it can be very harsh on you as well. So, yeah, I personally adhere to the once a week, mostly also because it works with a lot of people's schedules. Like, yep, you put the meds in on a Saturday, or let's say you put them in today, and next Sunday you can change out some of the water because you're doing your weekly maintenance. You kept an eye on them all week, and you can evaluate, are you redosing? Are you not? And I will say that we officially do say, if you can identify what disease it is, and you're treating an active infection, follow the directions. Like, the good news is, for the most part, you're not going to hurt the fish any more than you would have. But you can spend a lot more money. And I think not enough people kind of factor that in, where, like, let's say you've got this 150-gallon tank and you're going, okay, but each dose is $25. So it's $25 a day to redose that. And what I find is, and this is being very transparent, when you give a high dollar amount to treat a fish, people just flush it down the toilet. Like, we see that in dogs. You get to like, oh man, it's $1,000 to fix this dog. Like, put it down. Like, what? Like, yeah, it's $100 to put it down. Just put it down. And so you have to weigh, like, what are these people willing to pay to fix these fish, and how can I help them do it efficiently? Even if someone spent $5,000 setting up the aquarium, you'll watch them real weird, like, oh, but I could just buy new fish. Like, it's cheaper to buy new fish than it is to treat these. And so, yeah, for the most part, I found the 1 week system works really well for the general public, myself, and my store. So that's why I go with the 1 week treatment. When I know I'm treating like ick, for instance, it's active, I do, like, the reason I change water with ICX is not so much because I want the higher dosage of the meds in there to stay high. It's I'm gravel vacuuming to remove the cysts that are falling off each day. And I wish there was more emphasis on med directions, which med directions are already like paragraphs that are tiny and it's complicated, and sometimes you got to like peel back the label to actually read the other side, so it's already difficult. But explaining, like, when you're deworming your fish, it says to change the water. You would be really good to be gravel vacuuming and removing any of the eggs or worms coming out in the poop. Yes, they should be dead, but in some cases, like Expel P, they're paralyzed and not dead. So, yeah, that's, you can go, here's what I will say. If meds were easy, or fish disease was easy, we would all know exactly what to do, and this wouldn't be where basically every hobbyist thinks they might have a disease, they look it up, and they just try, and they start buying meds, and they're just throwing stuff, hoping it'll work. Most often you will see the typical timeline of disease is, something might be wrong. Let me put in Malefix and Pimafix. That didn't do anything. Now something is wrong. More Malefix and Pimafix. I better ask my store. Okay, let's start getting, or no, I guess there's still a step. I've got this med from last time I had a sick fish. Put it in. That doesn't do it. Finally go to a fish store. Let's, we get a treatment plan going. All right, but first we have to get all of the meds you've been stocking up in there. And I hesitate to even call Malefix and Pimafix an actual med, but all the stuff that's been going in, we kind of need to reset so that we can put the meds in and not overwhelm fish. So then it's kind of like, okay, a lot of times, and people freak out, is like, okay, here's what I need to do. I need to go home and do like a 40% water change, then just do nothing. Then tomorrow, I want another 40% water change. Then I want meds in. And then every day I want you to med and water change. In that scenario, you're going, that's not the 1 week plan, Corey. Like, well, the 1 week plan starts with normal aquarium water and you recognizing what's probably going wrong and reasonably putting in the right med. If we're already, and so often this is the case, we're already somewhere between 1 and 3 weeks in of this disease running rampant on this fish and it's being beat down, that's a lot harder to treat than, oh, I noticed I have this going on and I'm going to start from the beginning. And so, but it's very difficult because the other thing I want to recognize here is that we all start new. And if you've never owned a dog before, you have no idea what happens when they ate a little bit of grass. Or you have no idea that feeding them this food might give them diarrhea. Or you don't know. But as you have a dog longer and longer, or more dogs, or you grew up with dogs, or whatever, you kind of know a bit more. And hey, okay, yeah, so I guess maybe we are using some flea meds. Maybe they're worse than this summer. Maybe this is going on. And that happens with fish too. Like you start out going, I shouldn't say most often, but a lot of times, maybe you've never kept fish before. You've never had fish in your family before. Or if you did, maybe they didn't live that long. Or you don't have the same experience. Oftentimes it's not like, well, my family's always had 2 dogs for the last 30 years. Instead, it could be like, well, yeah, we had a fish tank for like a year when I was a kid. That doesn't give you the training to hopefully be able to diagnose and have luck down the road. And so you learn that, though. That's the good news, is as you become more, as you experience more disease, as you experience more things, hopefully you're running into it less. But when you do, you've got a better set of tools at hand. Because what we do see typically is when someone has success, they will go to that first, myself included. Like, why do you do it every week, Corey? Why are you doing this? Because that's what works for me. And that's why we do see the Pimafix and Melafix, because the internet basically says, well, it can't hurt. And I would push back on that going, but if it also does nothing, like putting off potential meds that would help is hurting. And then people will typically go to the second thing, and this med cured the problem I had last time. I will try that next. And the reality is that does work like 40% of the time, where it's like, oh yeah, because it's a reoccurring thing. Like the thing I had last time, it's actually the thing I have now. You also have the fact that some things can treat multiple things. Like salt will treat so many things. They're like, salt worked last time, salt will probably work now. Or if you had any kind of parasite internally, the thing you used last time probably would work now. And then, if that doesn't work, that's when they will reach out and get help. Hopefully we're able to provide some more guidance. We listen to, like, what have you tried so far? What did you have happen last time? Let's make sure the water's good. Because when you're treating fish, you want to remove the stress. So it's kind of like when you're sick, the guidance is take this medicine, rest. Not like exert yourself, go run a marathon. It's like, no, you got to rest. And so if we know that if we get a water sample, like, oh, we got pH has crashed, like you're never going to really stop the bacterial infection on the skin, because that's how it started with low pH on those guppies, if we don't fix the pH. So yes, fixing the pH won't make the bacteria go away, but the antibiotic to kill the bacteria will make the bacteria go away. But the minute the antibiotic is no longer active, the bacteria is coming back. So if we don't solve the problem that caused the disease, the meds don't solve it either. The good news is most times it's like, oh, it got sick in transport or from the store or the wholesaler, or my power went out. Like it's an event that doesn't recur. So that's, that might be half of it, of like, yep, those half is from things that are non-recurring, but then the other half is something's just wrong in the aquarium, whether it's aggression, whether it's water parameters, whether it's, maybe they're not getting to eat, or it's the wrong type of food, or it's spoiled, or maybe the light's way too bright and they're more of a nocturnal or reclusive fish. There's all the things that could go on. So, and that's what makes it so complex. It's like, man, there's no like linear path. It's kind of like this decision tree that just keeps branching and branching and branching and kind of, okay, well, it does this. And like, okay, well, this one won't work unless you're doing this also. And so that can be overwhelming. And then eventually the fish die and people just start over. And so they don't even get the answer at the end of like, oh, okay, now I know how to prevent that. It's just like, oh, well, and you'll run into people that like, when my fish get sick, they just die and I buy new ones because I've spent so much money trying to solve the problems. And I understand it. So, was just thinking that I'm glad Corey talked about guppies. Been really enjoying my new group of sunsets from Dan's Fish. Guppies are amazing. I know that they've just been talking about all their problems. It's because I've worked with so many people with guppies and I see the problems that I know about it so much with guppies because I'm a guppy lover. So, let's see here. Thank you for the gifted memberships, Tristan and Denise. Hopefully the people that got those will put them to good use and watch some of the talks. Let's see here. And still, if you're still watching, I want to make sure that you know, like, I'm not on the attack, by the way. I'm just explaining my words. So hopefully you're not taking it as an attack because that's not meant that way. I hope everybody knows that I go out of my way and know there's a billion ways to do everything, and I'm very cautious to say this is the way I do it, and the way I do it does not mean it's better than the way that you do it. We all have to, we all build our own ways of doing things. So, let's see. I know we're on meds right now, but I'm having my very first green situation. I was kind of excited about it because it was something new, but after 2 weeks of fighting it, I'm almost ready to buy a UV sterilizer. Yeah, I like UV sterilizers. I think, I think it's a useful tool to have around. I'm not sure where on the spectrum I land in terms of like best thing ever and useless. I think it's somewhere in the middle. For me, very effective at treating green water. I love to pair it with salt when trying to treat a disease as well. But if one way you can get rid of green water sometimes, black out the aquarium, like put a blanket, turn the lights out, 7 to 10 days a lot of times will get it, but some of your plants, especially your faster growing plants, can really take a hit. And so if I had the disposable income, and UV sterilizers have gotten pretty darn cheap on Amazon. You don't want to buy the ones that are like just a bulb and just throw it in the aquarium. That'll hurt your fish and but you can find some pretty cheap, like, hey, it's a little power heady thing with a bulb. Like the one that I do think is pretty good that you could walk into a big chain store, the green machines. Is that what the green machine? Is that what they call it? UV sterilizer green machine? Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, they're the green machine. Like that, the little power heady one. Let's see, I'm looking at... Is this a knockoff or is this the one? This looks like a knockoff. And it's $100. No. I guess with tariffs, who knows? But I feel like you should be able to find a cheaper green machine-ish thing for like $30 to $40 maybe. And I like the ones that are the power head because it's like, especially if they've done it right, it's one plug. Like the plug plugs into it and you just plug it in, you drop it in, you plug it in, boom. 2-ish days later, maybe overnight, but 2-ish days later, wow, green water gone. And then you unplug it, you can take it back out, and you can store it, and you've got it to live to fight another day if you need to, battle something. Just know that UV sterilizers do break down medications. So if you're going to run it full time, know that you would want to turn it off if you're using medication. Salt doesn't have that problem though. Thanks for the Deep in the Mulm podcast, all the work the co-op does. My daughter wants to know your favorite Halloween movie. Also sad about the new King of the Hill being lame. Yeah, I don't even know if we finished it yet. It just doesn't, it's not the same. My favorite Halloween movie. So I'm not, my wife probably has 10 of them. My favorite Halloween movie. I'm trying to think of something that I would watch. I don't know that I ever watched, like, went on my way to watch scary movies. I would say probably the thing I can remember from growing up, because I would go trick-or-treating and that kind of stuff, but what I remember is always watching the Simpsons Halloween episode. I think that's about as, favorite as I can think of. Because I never got into, the Friday the 13th and all that kind of stuff. In fact, I kind of groan when I'm at the movie theater. I'm like, oh yeah, it's October this month. It's going to be nothing but those types of movies. Not that they can't be good, but there's a saturation of that's all we're doing this month is those types of movies. So Tristan donating another 5 memberships as a 2-year member yourself. I hope you're getting value out of it. That's, so if you don't know, you get 5% off on the website when you sync your account. If you've been a member for a year, you get a coin. And every year after that, you get a coin. At the 5-year, you get a Yeti. We hire speakers every month to give a talk online for the members, and they're usually an expert in their field. I think there's other things too. Oh, Deep in the Mulm podcast every week. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff going on. Hocus Pocus. Oh yes, my wife will have me watching Hocus Pocus at least once a year. She'll probably watch it 2 or 3 times because she'll be making Halloween cookies. She'll be doing things it's my wife is enough Halloween for 5 people. She loves it. Have I ever had roaches in my food drawer? Not unintentionally. Actually, I don't think I've ever done roaches. Dubia roaches or anything. I've had confused flower beetles intentionally. I've had lots of different little worms intentionally. And I've had wingless fruit flies and all that kind of stuff, but never dabbled in the roaches. And luckily they don't really thrive here not that they can't, but they don't thrive here in the Northwest. So I haven't had to have any I didn't want to have either. If you treat a fish with aquarium salt, how much salt would you use per gallon of water? It depends on the type of fish, which I know that doesn't help anybody. Like guppies and mollies, libers in general can usually take a ton of salt, whereas someone else was saying Corydora not nearly as much salt. I believe we have it laid out. Well, I have it laid out in videos and as a blog, but usually I recommend, if you're in the store and you just walk in, you got a community tank and you got plants, it's oof, okay. If you got Anubias and stuff, let's start at 1 tablespoon per 3 gallons of water and see if we can't slowly get rid of this stuff that's going on. If you have to go up more than that, I find that that you're going to start losing plants and you can have some fish that really don't like it. But I'll go anywhere from a tablespoon per 3 to 5 gallons. That's a very kind of low medicinal dose, all the way up to a tablespoon per gallon. And this is aquarium salt, rock salt, which we've had this happen before, not marine salt. That's not, because that's got buffers for pH and minerals and other things in it. And so that can stress fish out just by changing the pH that much. But yeah, I still, and I've talked about this in live streams before, I still feel like there is a lot of communication to be done about salt. For something that's available to everybody in every country, and we know it works well with a decent amount of things with fish, we don't really have a great consensus. I would say, actually, and maybe that's something overall I think is true, we had much, for better or for worse, we had much more consensus on best practices before social media, because someone had to go out of their way, write a blog article, or, post on a forum, and it kind of lived there longer. Where right now, if you have people saying the wrong thing, it's in so many spots you can't even correct it. And once someone's read it, if they don't read the correction, they don't even get to see it. But so for better or for worse, if we rewind like 20 plus years, if all the articles say this amount of salt per gallon or this many water changes, we were all kind of doing it because that was the reference point. And now there's not a universal reference point, and so it's more like trust whoever you're hanging out with. And so I definitely learned that bias early on of like, a good example that I'll give is Ian Fuller, known for his work with Corridoras his whole life, basically. Breeds a lot of them, studies them, does all that. I remember he gave a presentation, and he really likes to use, I can't remember, I have to double check now. It was either Melafix or Pimafix, one of the two, for when Corridoras kind of get that like red streaking in the body and everything. And I was like, okay, this is good. I hadn't really had good luck treating that. And so I have those meds. I run into it with an import order or whatever. And it's like, we try it. And it just would not work for me. I tried again. Just like would not work. And after X amount of tries, like this does not work for me. I believe 100% that it works for him. However, I just don't know why it's not working for me. Is it different water structure? Is it a different concentration somehow? Is it, and so that's a case of like learning from I don't want to call him a peer because I consider him to be above me in his work with Corridoras for sure, but learning from a mentor or something like that doesn't mean they're always, well, I'm not, because that's going to make it sound like he's wrong. I don't think he's wrong either. The same methods don't always work. So if I've only ever kept fish in this fish room with hard water from a well, my experiences will be different than you or my store. The people at my store, the water's crazy soft. Now, I used to be on that water, so I understand. I used to be in the store for a long time, so I understand it. But if I had never experienced it, I'd be like, guppies are bulletproof, bro. And they are here in my water because I have high pH and hard water. They do really well. But at the store, oh, they hate that water. We have to doctor it up with crushed coral and watch it pretty closely. And so I think there's I don't know if it's a bias or just we can only say what works well for us, and that only works with what we've experienced. So, if I only experience good, clean drinking water here in America, and we go to a country that doesn't have good quality drinking water, water changes don't make sense there. So, yeah. I'd love more info on quantities of salt in planted tanks. I don't have it. That's the thing I guess I'm talking about here is that there's not, not, what do I want to say? There's not the right incentive, I feel like. So if there was a reason, like if someone was going to make a lot of money, someone would be figuring out all the salt concentrations that kill specific plants. Because there's not, anyone who's going to do that much work would basically be like, oh, well, why not work on this other thing that we want to know about the hobby that would make me money and support me? And so I think that's one of the big problems. I'm starting to work on it, but I'll never be able to do anything or all of it. And I'm not working on salt, but what I'm saying is I try to work in things that don't make money, but hopefully provide a data point to the hobby that might make it better over time. And we don't need to solve things ourselves. You can solve, I think about so many things in life. Think of it like a big puzzle. If you just put one piece in, and then the next person that comes along puts a piece in, eventually we solve the puzzle. We all might look at it and go, that 10,000 piece puzzle, I'll never have time to do it. But we all can probably look at it and go, well, I got 5 minutes right now. I could maybe find one, and I say maybe because you don't have to, but maybe I could find one piece right now, and I've contributed to it. And so like I'm trying to do that with outdoor, not even, I keep saying it's outdoor, but I'm kind of right now working on temperatures for fish. And everything I think I'm learning opens up more questions. So if I identify that having a lid on your aquarium is 2 to 3 degrees warmer, I then wonder like, okay, well, how about trapping in heat? Like I've been learning, I learned over last night because I changed, you'll see the video, I filmed it yesterday, but I worked on the ponds and I have all the lids installed now and I've got the probes the way I want them. And right now outside, because now I'm putting in, so let's talk about the learning curve here. When I installed the flow meter on my water change system in here, I learned that the 1/4-inch tube going into an aquarium is like 1/3 of a gallon. It's wicked slow. Where the 3/4-inch line with then like a 10-inch piece of 1/4-inch tubing will do like a gallon per hour. So then I use that knowledge outside with the ponds going, oh, well, I ran 1/4-inch because I wanted to go through my wall. And I was like, yeah, it's just 6. Those are wicked slow. So I had it going for 30 minutes. Well, if we're only getting 1/3 of a gallon per hour, right? And then we're going, wait a second, 1/3 of a gallon per hour, that's a 1/6 of a gallon. Like I wasn't putting enough water in to actually heat it up. So even though I had it set to 90 degrees, wasn't enough water. So I kicked it up to 2 hours, right? So we're getting more in there. And now that water is enough to actually raise the temperature. In fact, I can see that it raises it 2 hours of 1/3 of a gallon per hour going in 100 gallons. We'll raise it from 63 point something. Actually, I can tell you 62.4 to 66. So yeah, 66.2. So what is that? 2.8 degrees or something like that. Now, here's what I want to show you guys, or what I'm learning about temperatures. Outside, the outdoor temperature right now is 57 degrees. The tote that doesn't have a lid on it, because I left one without a lid, it's running at 59.4. It gets the same water change. The covered tote runs at 66 degrees. So by putting the lid and applying heat, so we're doing multiple tests or multiple things, I now can keep the outdoor pond, it is running 6.5 degrees warmer. Now I've got other things like, what if we used a heater? What if we used hotter air in the air pump? What about? And so really what I want to know, and this is all, it's like bring me the other way, really what I want to know is how many of the fish that we have labeled as tropical can actually just live in our house with no heaters. My hypothesis right now, and hopefully I'll know in the next 5 to 10 years, my hypothesis is over half of the fish we keep right now that we would say need to be at 78 degrees will live above, let's call it above 63 degrees. Now, I think majority of households keep their home at 63 or warmer even at night. Not everybody, but I would say the majority. Maybe let's call it 65%, 75%, whatever it is. And so if over half of, I think it's going to be over half of the fish will actually tolerate that. And not even just tolerate, I think thrive. And I think we're led, because I was having a conversation, I think we're led by, why take a chance when I can just buy a heater? And that's a valid point. Why take a chance? But I do believe fish will be hardier. I do believe they'll live longer. I do believe that less food goes further when the metabolism's not racing. I do believe that as energy gets more expensive, using less of it to keep your fish will be more affordable. So there's all these little pros and cons. And yeah, it's a rabbit hole that I'm going down that I'm enjoying. And I've decided basically that when I get back from Brazil, I'm going to attempt to lower the temperature. Well, actually, that's not true. I lowered it a little bit today, so I guess I'm doing it before Brazil, which I realize is a bad idea. You're going to leave. I only lowered it 2 more degrees, but I want to see like where am I starting to have some problems. And so far, over the last, let's say, 5 years, I haven't been able to identify any problems I've been having by lowering the temperatures. Now, I'm only down to like my 10 gallons over here are at 74 degrees, which right now, because we're coming out of summer, but they were running at 71 and I wasn't having a problem. So I want to see, like, am I going to have problems at 68? Is it 65? And knowing that the longer the fish are in your fish room and can adapt, and maybe you're breeding them, the more likely they are to thrive in an unheated aquarium in someone's home. So we'll see. You know, I'm kind of documenting it, trying to figure it out, and some other people are kind of working on it, but not enough. Like, we're not iterating fast enough, I guess. I found one other person that's like doing kind of ponds like me outside. Not that, you know, lots of people do ponds outside, but they're building insulation and they're doing reinforced tops and things like that. We're like, okay, yeah, I'm interested to see. Because one of the other goals outside would be, boy, wouldn't it be nice if you could take, let's imagine you had a guppy strain. Pick a color. Yep, these blue ones look great, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Imagine that you could breed them outside 8 months out of the year, and the other 4 months, they didn't breed, but they lived. So year-round, they're breeding outside here in the Pacific Northwest. That would be amazing. Like, that would change the way I do the hobby. Kind of like rice fish do that right now for us, like, and cherry shrimp. And so I think there's a lot more that will do it, but we are focused on, we've always done it this way, so we'll continue to do it this way instead of, well, let me push the boundaries over here and see, is it that way because it has to be, or it's that way because it has been? And oftentimes I find that it's because it has been, not because it has to be. When's the Brazil trip? I leave on Thursday. So, yeah. It's very early in the morning, and I think I leave Thursday and I arrive Friday, but it's 26 hours, so it's this weird, like, time zone, warp zone, like, what time is it right now? What day? I think I have a 12 plus hour layover in Bogota. That should be fun. I'm always stressed out and sketched out with just being in airports. I don't speak the language and long periods of time. So, and it's not that I've never like had anything bad happen. It's just if something's going wrong, like I can't find a bathroom or I can't do the thing. Now, that being said, I did buy the new AirPods, so I'm very interested to try out the translation feature, because I'm the worst and I only know how to speak English, and not even very well. And so I'm hoping that I'm gonna try to use it with Chris Lukup right at the beginning, hopefully, and be like, all right, you speak a lot of German, I want to speak English, and I want you to let me know how close are we, like, because he's fluent in like a lot of languages, and it would be cool because there's definitely times where we'll go to a different country, Chris and I, and he can have these in-depth conversations in another language, and then he'll summarize it for me. But boy, wouldn't it be great if I could just have my earbuds in and he didn't have to summarize? And so that way now, conversations are faster and easier, and I think that could be great. So I'm looking forward to that. Casey donating 20 gifted memberships. Coming in clutch. Thank you very much, Casey. I hope, well, I am seeing that. We're seeing lots of 1 month and 2 month people leaving comments and here in the chat, which is good, because if you were actually brand new, it says new. And so of these gifted memberships, it looks like we're doing something right, because some of the people are staying around for long time. Not long time's not the right word, but sticking around like, hey, that was good. Let me experience another month of this. And that's good to see. That points us into like, hey, we're doing something right here, hopefully. The Fishing Nomad says, the Bogota airport is nice and modern. You'll be fine with English only. Nice. I think I have like a mild case of PTSD from, I want to say, a Chinese airport where the kiosks were broken, like the software glitched. And so I couldn't use them. And I had like an hour to get to the next flight. And I'd go to the counters, and then they wouldn't speak English. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be stuck in China without making the next flight because I can't seem to find anybody that speaks English. And the kiosks are broken that I usually rely on. Oh no. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, so it was way understaffed as well. And so I definitely think about that going, okay, as long as it's not that, it will be great. Because that was I don't know if scary is the right word. It was a stressful night of like, this airport is huge. I don't even know if I'm even going in the right direction. I just keep going to like the next counter, eventually I found someone that spoke English and they helped me out and I made it. But it's I don't know, it's unsettling to be like, oh no, they don't, like, I didn't feel threatened. Like, I didn't feel unsafe. I mostly was like, I'm gonna miss my flight. People are waiting on me. I'm gonna waste money. This would be lame. You know, that's not a fun feeling. So, another good thing about finding out, let's call it the limits of fish temperature. I think it would help a lot with fish shipping as well, as some people are talking about. Like, you know, back when we looked at one source of information, like everybody said reticulated hillstream loaches had to have fast flowing water, lots of oxygen, and cool temps. I have bred them multiple times in different tanks at 82, 84 degrees. Yeah, there's an air stone, but not fast flowing. And I'm not going to say, oh, well, that was optimal. Not saying that. I'm just saying if this is optimal and we keep it this skinny line, but we're seeing success in a wider line, why aren't we going, well, maybe there is some more leeway? And I wonder, like, I've never tested. Would they have done it 86, 88? Like, I don't know where they die off. And they're like, nope, that's it, not doing it. But it'd be nice to know on a lot of these things. So I'm hoping over time we'll learn more and more as a group of hobbyists. Speaking of cool gadgets, I just recently got a bed jet. It's pretty awesome. Not that you'd take it to Brazil with you, but if you did get too hot or cold, definitely look into one. I guess I only ever thought about it as cooling. I never really thought about it as heating. I have two living bed jets. They're called little chihuahuas. I call them they're little bed heaters. They don't cool you down, that's for sure, but they are little bed heaters. So I use them instead of bed jets for heating. Let's see. Jody P is talking about keeping guppies down at 64. Let's see. I've been working on keeping guppies at 64 or less. So far, they've been great. They've got 90. Wait, let's see. Been outside as low as 60 and as high as 97. Pretty tolerant fish, I'd say. Yeah. So the other caveat I would throw in, Jody, is that strain is handling that, and probably each generation you breed, my guess is like, ooh, they're at 59, they're at 58, they're at 57, they're at 56. And you might go, hey, I've got tiger endlers. And then someone else just buys them in a store and takes them home, puts them in 65-degree water, and they die. Like, what happened? Like, well, that, like, we in our mind, we're going, that's the same fish. In reality, they're not the same fish. Like, what I want to say, like, an AKC super line bred German Shepherd is not the same genetics as the German Shepherd at the pound. It's not that one dog's better than the other or anything, but they're not the same genetics, and so you'll get different things. So I also think as I was having this conversation, it's a chicken and the egg thing. If more people kept fish in cooler waters, more fish would actually do well in cooler waters. So it's going to be this like tidal wave effect of like, yeah, we kind of got to get a lot of people doing it for it to work. Otherwise, and I would highly recommend this, and in fact, I would love to spend money on this. Otherwise, people documenting specific strains, so just like we focus on color, right, or whatever a fish looks, I will gladly pay much more money if you can prove like it'll live much colder, it's much more disease resistant, it lives longer, it does these things that you can't see with the eye. But if you could show me like, here, these guppies are for sale, I keep them outside every year, boop, oh wow, they're at 55 degrees. I would probably pay $100 a trio for those or more, right? Because that's something money can't buy right now. And I think people are like, yeah, but if I can make one look really cool, that makes money. Yes, but I can buy a lot of cool looking fish. I would say right now, I don't think I could Google guppies in the 50 degrees and buy them. And so I think that's a valid way for someone to go. And I think there's a lot of money to be had there for a small business. Let's see. Do I still have confidence in the Med Trio? I do. I have it on hand in my fish room at all times. We use it, I'm going to say every day, not that we have to treat fish every single day, but we use it for sure every week, all the fish that come in at the retail store. So, and what I will say, there are people that I consult with, and they've done their own independent like analysis, and it turns out they basically have ended up at the Trio, because what makes the Trio so good is if you know nothing, if you can't identify a disease or you're new to the hobby or whatever, you've got like a 75% chance of fixing the problem just right out the gate. Like, I spent the money, I put these meds in, and I fixed the problem. And that's just so much higher than random pet store employee, random thing I read online, because the hardest part is still not the advice you get from a pet store, it's identifying the problem. Like if you go in, you're talking to other chefs and you say, my spaghetti is too sour. They can now help you make it not be sour. But if you misdiagnose it and it's not actually sour, it's spicy, all the advice they give you doesn't work. So the good news is the Med Trio is kind of like, I don't know what's wrong with my spaghetti. It doesn't taste right. What do you think needs to be fixed? I don't know. Then someone gives you a recipe for spaghetti and you follow it. And you go, hey, this is pretty good. It worked. Okay. You still don't really know what was wrong with your spaghetti recipe, but now you have one that works most of the time. If you follow the directions, most of the time it works. And that's the Med Trio. It's not the world's best spaghetti. It's not winning competitions and shows. But if you don't know how to make spaghetti, it's a recipe that'll get you there where everybody goes, oh, thanks for cooking. Instead of, okay, pass more of that garlic bread. I can't, what am I going to do with this stuff? And yeah, so that's why we do that. And if you can identify, if you go, hey, I see the ick. Hey, I see the bacterial infection. I see this. You don't need the Trio because you've identified, the spaghetti is not sweet enough. We need to add sugar. Or it's too spicy. We need to find a way to bring that heat down. If you can identify what's wrong, you then can deploy an answer. If you can't identify what's wrong, that's where the recipe of the Trio generally will work for people. Kind of the same thing with the Easy Green, honestly. If you know exactly what that plant wants, why not feed it exactly what it wants? Most people go, I don't know what it wants. And I go, great. So here's a recipe of what plants want. Just give it that. And I will never say that Easy Green is better than knowing exactly what the plant wants. But I will say probably most of us in the chat couldn't tell you what the plant wants. And in a tank, it'll be like, that plant wants this, that plant wants this, that plant wants this, that plant wants that. And they could all have different deficiencies. They could have different temperatures they want, different CO2 requirements, different light requirements. And so universally, most people find it much easier to go, well, let's try to do all of the things, and we'll get pretty good results instead of perfect results. How has AI brought changes to the hobby? In my opinion, it's made it worse. I'm sure there's some things that, like, I'm just old man yelling at clouds, but the amount of AI making its way into video and blog articles and you can even see it where, ChatGPT and other stuff is referencing the Aquarium Co-op website, and they can get stuff wrong. It's like, just because you index that one article doesn't mean the way you applied it to this question is even correct. Like, that's unfortunate. So I think the changes that it's bringing currently are bad or not good. I do think there will be some probably like, oh, wow, this is a great way to use AI in the future for the aquarium keeping hobby, but I haven't seen it yet. And so I don't know what to look for either, but I'm sure there will be great AI. And I still have this weird, like, in my own head, how different is AI, artificial intelligence, versus really well-written code that's basically a bunch of if-then statements? If you have ick, use ick-x. Scrub the article that says, if you have ick, use ick-x. Like, I really wonder, because I have this thing, and I'm sure there's people that study this for their life, but I have a feeling that you could write code with a bunch of if-then statements around a topic that people wouldn't be able to indistinguish from AI, but because you set the if-then statements, it only ever does those, where the AI could learn something and then dispense wrong outcomes. So it's like a cheat code to go, yeah, that crazy decision tree you just talked about, Corey, AI could do that. But if they get it wrong, they can do it really fast, but they can also but there's a 5 to 10% chance of error, where if you were to write the decision tree from your opinion or whatever, from your research, it will be true to your research, and you can still be wrong, but it won't dispense the 5 to 10% incorrect answers. Instead, it would just, if your research is right, it would just be right. And so that's the part where I'm like, and then because it's right 90% of the time, we don't see the 10% of the time where it's failing. Because we're just like, oh yeah, most times I Google it and that was right, that was right, that was right, AI, that was right. And then it gives you something that's believable but wrong, but you just think, that must be it. Yeah, it's always right. So that's a weird spot we're in right now. Any update on the ultrasonic cleaners? Nope. I've been just trying to get ready for stuff, so I haven't gone down that rabbit hole. It's still sitting over there though, so there's that. Like, it's not, I didn't put it away or anything yet. An explosion of aquarium-related books written by AI. Authors have most likely never had a tank. I mean, I don't know if you've probably seen this, but there's a lot of hobbies and a lot of channels, or not even has to do that. More and more when I search on YouTube to do a thing, you will see channels that are only AI that, if you didn't know better, the information would seem correct. Also, if you didn't know better, you might not know it's AI because the voices are getting so good. The problem is that not all the information is incorrect. And when you're trying to learn about a subject that you don't know, you don't have any way to sort that out. It's no different, really, than if you had a really bad teacher in school that taught you the wrong things or the wrong way to do something. You don't know that it's wrong because that's all you've known. Except in theory, there's someone reviewing the work and they had to get certifications and other stuff, but there's nothing stopping your cat or dog right now from spinning up a blog about fish with AI. Like, I see it all the time. I see it so often being used that and I just wonder, I'm like, so before AI, this person or this creator or this business would have never done, they don't do this. But now that they can click a button, they're like, hey, it looks like I've done something because I've clicked the button. And then X amount of people will be like, look, they did a thing. Whether it's right or wrong is irrelevant because the business or whatever is going, I checked the box. And so, like all of our blog articles, for instance, we have hundreds and hundreds of blog articles written and researched by humans. Those are now just feeding into ChatGPT. And so other people can click a button and they can make a blog article that might be reviewed by humans. But if you don't understand the concept, I think what happens is, and this, I just thought of this, so maybe this will be a great analogy and we'll see if it plays out. But when you take a piece of video or something, and let's say you download it from YouTube, and then you render it, and you upload it, and then you download it, and you render it, every time you do that, the copy gets a little worse. Or maybe take a copy or photocopy. Take a put something on the photocopier, hit the button, now take that new copy, put it on top, scan that one, print that one. Each time you do it, it gets a little bit worse, a little bit worse, a little bit worse. It's still legible, but eventually you're 30 copies deep and you're like, oh, that letter's missing. 80 copies deep, that sentence is missing. Like it's fading and fading and fading and fading and fading. And that's what's happening with information and AI currently. It's a copy of 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 a copy. And eventually little things they're just being pulled out. And you end up with a thing that is not true or coherent anymore. And so I think that's what we're going to see. And unless there's a way to change that of like, we train the AI to only go back to the original source, don't copy a copy of a copy of a copy, or something goes on. But that's what it feels like is happening, is you can see, because I played with it, you can feed it information, and then with the information that it spits out, you can use that as the information. Yeah. Hey, Corey, can you say neocaridina? Yes. Even though I just say neos, because... 30 photocopies of photocopies analogy reminds me of forms I get at the hospital. Yeah, we've all probably had that before, where you can clearly tell, like, oh, wow, we don't have the original digital form. We just keep photocopying one of the photocopies. And I think that's what is basically generating the AI slop. I don't think a human's going, make this worse. I don't think that. I think it's just a human who is loosely familiar with a subject goes, consolidate this, write my article, do my thing, and then they overlook it and they go, yeah, that's pretty good. Not going like, oh, but we lost. Imagine every time we ask ChatGPT about a thing, let's say it's about, I don't know, this plant. If every time we asked it, it got 0.5% less accurate, pretty soon it's pretty inaccurate. And I think that could be what's going on. I don't know that, I'm not, but I just don't think, so how has it changed the hobby was the original question. I think it's changed it probably negatively. There probably will be some breakthroughs, though, at some point where it gets really good. Like, I do think it's powerful that if you can feed it the right information, it can do some things. And I would say the work that I think has still been most applicable that I've seen, you take a computer programmer who knows how to program well, you then ask AI to do a function for you, and then you proofread it, and you tweak it a little bit, and that might save you hours of work. I think that is probably a good thing. I do. But if you take someone who doesn't know how to program and then you say, build this function for me, and you don't proofread it, you're not getting the benefit anymore. Like, yeah, you can now do a thing you couldn't do before, but without the proofreading part, that's where the trouble starts, I think. And I don't know how we're going to solve that part yet, but that, if you take someone highly skilled and pair it with AI and keep it to that niche, I do think it gets better. The minute you expand the scope, and that is what AI currently is always marketed towards, that's when I think it breaks apart. So it can be useful if you prompt it correctly. At work, we have an insulated AI that can access company policies and SharePoint docs, which is so helpful for research, but you have to validate it. I agree. My counterpoint, or not, my comment would be, if I came to your work and I don't know anything about your business, and someone said, please solve this problem, I don't know how to prompt it correctly. And so with the skill set and the AI, you will get benefit. However, I think, what about 10 years from now, when Am I a Nut doesn't work there anymore, and there are two versions of you newer with AI, will they be able to give as qualified prompts and other things as you can now? Right now, we're in a stage where we've got lots of hands-on experience for a long time, and now we're using this new tool. What happens when we've got a lot of tool experience, but not the hands-on experience? Will we still be able to get the same thing? Kind of a chicken and the egg scenario. Is that the same plant on my desk from last week? You better believe it. Most of these tissue culture plants I can let sit here for months. Not all of them, but there's some light in the room and it's just bursting at the seams. It's ready for me to plant. I'm literally not even going to plant it probably till I get back from Peru. So at least another 3 weeks. Or I mean, not Peru, but Brazil. So kind of awesome. Like, you see the liquid in there, that's just fertilizer and water basically. And the root system. Like, it just keeps getting more compact. Like, if you let it go way too long, it can be detrimental, but yeah, it's kind of nice to be able to, they're more expensive, but and I will say it's not uniform. So if I were 10 of those, you might go like, oh, after 6 weeks, 8 of them are great, 2 aren't. Yeah. The YouTuber meteorologist Ryan Hall uses it to give alerts based on National Weather Service to help spread messages about warnings and storms. It really depends on how you use it. I watched Ryan Hall, and I couldn't hate the AI more. I absolutely hate it. Now, there's a lot of pieces of AI being used on that channel, and the only part I actually hate is the voice. Like, if you want to use AI in the background to do computational work, great. If I wanted to listen to the YALLBot, as it's called, I would watch the YALLBot channel that goes 24/7 and does its thing. I don't enjoy when he steps away from the computer. I would rather have the silence. I would rather have the scanner on in the background. I would rather have the Storm Chasers intercom going. But the way that specific AI bot interacts with the questions that are prompted and the stuff, I find it grating on my soul. And it's probably some of like the actual voice tone. It's some of the way the AI is built to be a little sassy. It's some of the just getting stuff not contextually right. All of that, where it's like I just want the human. I just want the human here. That's what I want. And so much so that if they rely on that too much, I stop watching it. But I love to watch storms. Love it. There's a hurricane developing. There's a tornado. There's a thing going on. Background, nice and quiet. Oh, wow, look at that. Wow, that house just got lifted off the ground. And then the minute that YALLBot comes on, it's just like, oh, nails on a chalkboard. Like, am I going to have to stop? I think I'm going to have to stop. So, now that being said, I think that the YALLBot on the YALLBot channel perfectly makes sense. You go, yep, if I had a database, I could see it where if I had a database of everything I've ever said, logged into a bot, and you really needed to know what Corey thinks on something, and you went to Corey's AI bot channel, yes. But if I was like, I'll be back in 20 minutes, guys, let me hit the bot. Now that doesn't seem okay to me. And maybe I'm just an old guy yelling at clouds. And I will say, I do enjoy watching Ryan. And I love to be working and having it on the background. So as someone who partakes in it, I like that channel. I hate the all bot. Let's see here. I have trouble with the co-op snail catcher. I'm trying to put it in the aquarium and then take it out. Wondering if you could create an option that would hang on the rim snail catcher. Trying to put it in the aquarium and then taking it out. I haven't thought of that. And I haven't tested that either. Let me think of how that would work. In general, snails stay mostly on the ground because waste settles down there. You could entice them up maybe with the food, but then you'd have to have them like maybe get in from the side. Doable, but I don't know that I'm going to put it high on the list to try and solve. I feel that feels very much like one of those like, and I realize I do dabble there, but it feels like it's like a 5% improvement. I think there's some other projects where I'm like, I could try it. I wonder how many of those snails are going to want to crawl out. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I got to think about that one more. My dad was an avid weather radio listener. He gave me one when I was 25 and warned me that there's a new guy and it's a bot. Yeah. I bought my first weather radio because of Ryan Hall. I was like, you know what? I should have a radio that I can hand crank if a storm ever happened. Like, I enjoy it. And I understand, because I've been in business too. I understand, like, it probably does so much and it's fulfilling for him to work on it and do all of that, but it has the viewers divided, and I'm on the side that doesn't like it. He addresses it fairly often. I've never told him like, oh man, I don't enjoy the bot. Because I do think it is. I think it's super useful on the other channel. I just don't think it's useful on the main channel. So I can't imagine if there was a 30-minute interlude here where it's like, now it's just the bot, guys. Like, hang around for 30 minutes and I'll be back again. And it's the bot. That just seems, it's two different things. That's the thing. I think it's just too different, and we too much is trying to work it in. You know, it's oil and water, and like we're like, well, if I mix it faster, maybe if I just got to get the right amount of oil and water. It's like it's never going to blend. It just can't do it. And I think that's what AI is. It's like AI's got to be its own thing, like in terms of like a video or expressive mode versus, you know, I do think it's enhanced with human and AI working together, can be enhanced sometimes. Flake or pellets for nanofish? If I was forced to choose something off the shelf, I would probably choose a flake because I can make it real small. If you're saying like, could it be the magic small fish feed? Like, I think that is superior, but you might go, I'm at this store and they have this flake and this pellet. Like if you said all they have is extreme, they have the magic nano, or not magic nano, sorry, they have the nano pellet, or they have krill flake. I would feed krill flake because I can make it any size I want. It floats a little longer, but they're both still good foods. And Dean would probably say, because he runs bare bottom and everything, is like, oh, I would probably feed the nano pellet. So, but at the end of the day, the fish are going to eat both probably. Uh-oh, now we're using emulsifiers to mix the water and the oil. How do I make sure my plecos are getting fed? The mystery snails and the guppies eat the tabs first. Yeah, it can be difficult. Feeding when the lights are out or right before the lights go out can help. Bigger amounts of food like pieces of zucchini, green beans, that kind of stuff. Like guppies in general don't like pure veggies as much. So that's one way, like if you had 50 guppies, like, okay, we got those out. Now it's just down to feeding the mystery snails and the plecos. That being said, plecos also want protein sources also. So yeah, you kind of just got to try. So other things you can do is you can get a piece of PVC pipe. And like if you have a cave or you know where that pleco hangs out, you put the pipe in, you drop the food so it literally goes like right in front of them. Instead of trying to drop it from the top, all the guppies or whatever rush to it, and then maybe it lands in the front. And now there's a horde of fish, and it's got to come out of its comfort space to go out. So target feeding, basically. Yeah, green beans, by the way, for a guy that sells fish food, if most of your aquariums, if you're not trying some green beans out of the can, you messed up. Green beans out of the can for shrimp and plecos and snails, and even a lot of like live bears and stuff. If you just take one and kind of drop it in every tank, you'd be surprised. Turtles go nuts for it. Clown loaches go nuts for it. There's a lot of fish that'll eat green beans out of the can. You've seen it if you watch 4 billion videos off my channel. I've done it tons over the years. We still do it at the store. It's kind of like having a salad bar for your fish. I don't do it instead of fish food. I do it in addition to fish food. Also, green beans out of the can holds up really well. So if they don't eat it, real easy to just net out and throw out or move it to a different tank or do whatever you want to do. So I find it to be very water stable, which is good. Where like cucumber, not water stable, zucchini, pretty water stable. And a lot of people ask like, what about low sodium or the salt in them? I just feed whatever the cheapest cut green bean, not French. I just do like the chunks of them. Whatever the cheapest version is at your store. That one's 70 cents a can. That's the one. This one's 20 cents a can. Then that's the one. But salt intake, it dilutes. It's so little salt that dilutes out so much. Never seen it have any kind of impact. And that's even with, bigger fish, something crushing them. Like they just ate a handful of them. Never seen a problem with it. Doesn't mean it couldn't be. I also only do it like once a week-ish. So, I guess. Well, now, I open a can. If a can lasts 2 days, and I feed 2 days. But I don't make sure I feed it every day or anything. But I guess because I don't have that experience of feeding green beans every single day, could it become a problem? Maybe. I just have never done that, so I can't speak to that really. I recently got some more rare, expensive autos, Galaxy and bumblebees, and was worried about them starving out because they look skinny. ChatGPT recommended I add blanched zucchini, and they ate. Yeah. And that would be a case where it's a hit, right? But yeah, I don't really have a but there. If it was to miss though, that wouldn't be good. My autos go crazy for the Magic Small Fish feed. Mine do as well. I'm continually impressed. What wants to eat it? I think it will be really, really good for Stiffodon gobies as well. I keep meaning to order a bunch, but I just haven't. But I suspect we see it in the store. We've seen some wholesalers say that. I want to see it and kind of show it on camera though too. How do I plan to overwinter my rice fish in my ponds when it starts snowing? Will you do anything different other than letting them sit? In years past, nothing. Just let the ice can be over them. They've been fine. This year, if I'm a good little aquarist, I want to try feeding super low protein, like wheat germ based food. So Dr. Ted Coletti, he feeds some of his Danios and stuff through the cold months with like basically wheat germ koi pellets that have been ground up in a pepper grinder. And I thought, I should be doing that too. Because mostly I just starve them over the winter. But especially if I'm going to try to keep them a little bit warmer this year with the tops, I should be feeding them. So I'm going to put my thinking cap on and go, what wheat germ or what food do I want to try? And, am I going to buy maybe an electric grinder thing or something to make it easier? Or I haven't figured it out yet, but it is in my, I'm going to think about that mode. Aquarium Co-op power head is totally usable for water changes. I have a tank at the bottom. Yeah, put it on a hose and just pump it. Chris Villafane donating a membership. Thank you. Passing it along. Deep research tool for LLMs can be very helpful if you have a paper trail, which, if you don't know, LLM is language learning model. Yeah, I do think there's definitely some what you feed it and the quality is kind of what you get out of an AI model, but I still think there's some of that, like, I think AI can't capture this. When you read like a paper on something and a lot of it you just know, and then there's like the one thing that sticks out. I think AI doesn't know what the one thing that sticks out is. It's all equal. And I think that's the missing part, is how is it, maybe you'll get smart enough, but I know that if I read a book or a study and then I come back 10 years later, I get a new nugget of wisdom out of it because I know more and can correlate more now. So a good example might be like the first time I watch a talk, I learn about it. But then after doing the thing I learned about for years, and then I see the talk again, more advanced information rings true, and that opens my mind again. So it's almost like another level unlocks, even though it's the same information presented to me twice. And I don't know, and maybe AI is doing that, and I don't know. I don't think it has that ability. I think it takes it all as like, there's 10 data points, all 10 are equal. Where when I read something, there's 10 data points. Oh yeah, those two clearly the takeaways here. And so, yeah, I don't know. Like, is it ever going to leave out the key point? Especially when you're summarizing a 40-page paper. Like, seems like it would be hard to, like, I'll read a whole book on business stuff, and my whole goal is to take one or two concepts away. If I go to a convention about business and every day there's 10 talks, I learned early on I can write down 100 ideas and do none of them, or I can distill down the 3 days where I just brain overloaded and go, what are the 3 things that are most applicable to me right now in my business? It's not that all 100 ideas are amazing, but which ones will move the needle for me the most right now, and can I deploy, and am I excited about? Because 100 ideas stays on a piece of paper that I never do. 1 or 2 that I actually go, these are the 2 things I have to take action on from this. That makes a big difference for me. So, would I be making a sinking wafer? I'm trying. Is LLM large language model? Is that true? Because I said that so confidently, like I knew. It is. I am leading people astray. I'm basically AI at this point. Huh. I don't know if I read that once, but I would have put money that it was a language learning model. Instead, it's a large language model. Every day of my life is just me realizing I don't know what I think I know. Maybe that's everyone's life, though. So yes, don't be fooled. Don't look like Corey. It is a large language model. I tried blanched zucchini and my shrimp wouldn't even look at it. I just find boiling veggies too much work. I always put zucchini, like, just cut it and remove some of the peel, they'll eat it. Yeah, I'm looking for less work. Let's see, we got about 11 minutes left. All right. What are the pros and cons of using Purigen? Well, it's rechargeable. It will absorb things usually you don't want in your aquarium while not absorbing fertilizer. It can, so it can like help with diatom algae and some other stuff. The cons would be the price, and also I would say between like my store and my fish room, so hundreds of aquariums, not a single one is using Purigen. Not that it couldn't, it's not bad. It's that also it might not be needed. And there's a lot of products like that where it can help you. Like, I'm trying to think of maybe Purigen's like a generator. For the average home, like, if everything's going right, you don't need a generator. But when you need it, oh, it's clutch. So, and you could make the argument of like, oh, I don't need to own a generator. And for the most part, you can get through it and you wouldn't need to. But having a generator sure is handy, and Purigen too. Like, if it was free and I had unlimited amounts of it, would I use Purigen in every aquarium? Yeah, probably, if it was free and I had unlimited amounts. But the fact that I have to go, oh, well, would you, if generators were a one-time use and you threw them away, would you still always buy another generator? Probably not. So you always got to factor the money part in. And so if you have one small aquarium, yeah, Purigen might be totally worth it and rechargeable and great. When you have a lot of aquariums, it's hard to justify that much Purigen going, well, I'd have to have like 40 bags of it, and I'd rotate them, I gotta clean them, I gotta do this. So yeah, that I would say that's the pros and cons of it. Are we ever going to expand to Canada? April's Aquariums ships all of our products in Canada, but we have no plans to set up a store or anything like that. International commerce. Mostly, the more I learn, the more I just know that like I'm not to the end of the rainbow with what I want to do in America, and getting outside of America gets me further away from that goal. So like, if we spend time getting into Australia, that's time I wouldn't be working on a hang-on back filter or a canister or a sinking food or a thing. And so it's not that I don't want everyone to be able to get it. It's that I have to pick, I have to pick a road to go down, and it's like, well, keep working in America because it's the easiest path I have. And then when I run out of easy stuff, start tackling harder stuff. I just cut zucchini and put it in the shrimp. Yeah, put it in the shrimp and the plecos and the yo-yos and the catfish love it. That's what I've always done, and I've always had good luck with that. Cucumber, for whatever reason, it just becomes a slimy mess for me. So I've always preferred zucchini. Lots of people love the cucumber, though. I'm not sure. Let's see. What's the difference between Aquarium Co-op beta tested 3D printed under gravel plates and the Penplex? Not disclosing. So what I find is when I show something that's 3D printed, 3D printer people just go, oh, I could do that. And then now we're racing our own product. Because you can, like, it's people that are good at 3D printing, which I'm not. It's very easy to see it and then go, oh, I see. So the idea part that I think I'm fairly good at, people that can 3D print can do that pretty easily. And so I'm trying not to just let the entire cat out of the bag and be like, yep, there's 5 people on Etsy basically selling what we would do. Now, the good news is with the underground filter plates, it's so print intensive that I don't think it's going to make sense like to do a tank 3D printing that much for like that tank. It's like, oh yeah, it's a week of printing solid from your printer. So it does have that going for it. But yeah. And plus, I also don't want to say the features and then be like, you ended up not launching that feature. Like, what? Like, yeah, it turns out it didn't work very well, or I didn't think it was going to, people are going to understand it. But as most things we do, we're not inventing the wheel. We're just trying to optimize the wheel. And so, and it's the way I want it. Like, if you look at a wheel, it's like, well, you can make them bigger. You can make them skinnier. You can make them with chunky tires. You can make them roll really far. You can make them not get flat tires. There's all these little options. And depending on what you want to do with the wheel, maybe you make them out of wood or steel or whatever. Whatever you're trying to do, that's what you optimize for. And so my job is mostly go, well, what do I want? What would serve me really well? And I think our customer base, Planet Community Tank people, how would we make this a little better for that? And then people are going to be like, well, we always had that. Like, yes, we've always had car wheels, but maybe we use a different rubber. Maybe we make them a different size. Maybe we lighten up the wheel. Maybe we change the grooves. Maybe we add studs. Maybe there's all these things maybe we do. Or maybe we're doing the same thing but cheaper now. And so that's what we try to do. It's like, yeah, I mean, I do think what I've got going on is pretty good for underground filters. But will anyone else care? I don't know. That remains to be seen. We're still waiting on quotes. So right now we're trying to see, like, can we get someone in America to make it? Can we get someone in China to make it? What is the cost looking like? I think right now we're price shopping China, Taiwan, America. I thought there's one more. China, Taiwan, America. I can't remember that. There's like one more, but seeing, like, one, will they do it? Two, what would it cost? And my wife threw me off track. I hate buttercream.
I know, but I need to make sure it tastes so.
Just let me taste it now. Let me get this over with. I hate buttercream. What is it supposed to taste like?
Buttercream. Like, it doesn't taste weird or anything, right?
No, it's just way too sweet. Like, it tastes like vanilla.
Good, it tastes vanilla. Okay.
Yes.
I can't taste. My taste buds are all.
I hate buttercream. Ugh. Got to do a birthday party later, and
Oh.
ugh. It just, to me, I mean, it's because of what it is. It just tastes like you just put butter in your mouth, and now my mouth is like coated in butter.
Do you need more drink?
I got it. I never understand the people that love buttercream, and there are people that do, but that is not me. Ugh. Whipped cream,
Some good screenshots.
probably. Ugh. Yeah, I have to have the brutal job of being a taste tester. It's horrible. Well, it actually kind of is horrible when it's buttercream. I hate buttercream, but how do you hate buttercream? There's the person who likes buttercream. It's not me. Yeah. 90% of my fish room is under gravel and old school box filters and a few sponge filters. Yes, whipped over buttercream. Yes. Fresh whipped cream. My wife can make amazing whipped cream. Yes, if it's my birthday, whipped cream for sure. If it's buttercream or nothing, I choose nothing. Like, I will scrape that crap right off. Like on a cupcake or a cake or something, like, ugh. Let's see. The underground filters on Amazon got hit by tariffs pretty bad. Yes. Yep. So, no joke. I want to look this up just to make sure, because I was price shopping like earlier this week. My wholesaler, the premium leaves under gravel was at a price that blew my mind. My cost. I gotta log in here. I'm gonna quote you a price, and you're gonna be like, "That guy's lying." I'm not gonna show you the page, but because they'll probably get pissed that I show it or something. But let me find it here. And I wasn't even looking up underground filter. I was looking up an aquarium, so I'm thinking about building a sump on the 800 gallon. And I typed in like Aquarium aquarium or something, and it came up, but. Let me find the premium one. The premium one was just such a price that I was like, there's no way. Like, who would ever buy this? Now I got it. Like, this company's website is the worst. It brings up cat and dog crap. I typed in premium under gravel, and it let me think. Lee's premium? Will that bring it? Yeah, here we go. Okay. So I was looking for a 48 by 18 aquarium that I wanted to be short, turned into a sump. So it brought up the Lee's Aquarium and Pet Products Premium Under Gravel Filter Plate. what is Corey's cost as a store owner that would be buying at wholesale? The mind-blowing price, if I was to order this up to sell to a customer, my cost, I'm going to keep saying this again, my cost, $78.29. $78.29 is my cost. And they say that I'm getting a deal, and that the normal wholesale price for me would be $104.39. It's asinine. It's so dumb. Because I bet you if I hopped on Amazon, I could probably find one for cheaper. And if not, no one's going to pay that, though. Let's see what they are on Amazon. Do they sell the premium? No, probably because it's too expensive to ship. Because the premium was one big plate, right? So you'd get a 4-foot plate. Yeah, they don't sell it on Amazon because it would cost too much to ship. But $78 is absurd. Now, that being said, I want to make sure that because I'm talking a big game. Do I think an underground filter would be worth $78? Yes, because they basically never break, and it'll filter your aquarium for the next 2,000 years. So, that being said, it's only absurd because they used to be like 30, 40 bucks. So they're literally over double now. And that's what makes it absurd. Like, when did that happen? And also knowing that, like, some of the other options, like, oh, you can get them for 30 bucks, 40 bucks. It's crazy. Yeah, if you can get the premium Lee's filter, so the one that's one big piece and it's got the big, humps to it for $20.99, that is almost 1/4 the cost that I can buy one from my wholesaler right now. So, yeah. Why do you want one plate? You don't necessarily. It's just a thicker plastic, really. Yeah, I wasn't looking for that. I was looking for the tank, and I just happened to see that going, what? In fact, I like smaller plates because it's more modular. But, yeah, I was just shocked to be like, wait, a piece of plastic? And it's the shipping. I know it's the shipping because I ship stuff, so I know it's the shipping. But I'm just still like, a piece of plastic, $78? Whew, that's a lot. All right. It's the 2-hour mark. And I swear, I'm going to get better at doing my job. So I had told myself before I went live, I was like, let me tell people about the deal we got going on our website. I'm going to try to work that in at the beginning. So that way, all the people that stop listening and watching way before they ever get here would know about it. But because I'm the hobbyist madman first, I go 2 hours and 2 minutes before I ever mention about our website. So right now, while supplies last-ish, I'm doing a new promo-y thing, which should be big news. Like, Aquarium Co-op doesn't really do promos. So like, wait, what? If you spend $124.99, we will give you a free shirt of your choice. Not like a super cheap shirt. I didn't have like a bunch made where it's like, yeah, we'll print them horrible quality and we'll just give away these like shirts no one wants. Like you could the shirt I'm wearing right now that people have washed 1 billion times and they last forever, you can get one for free. So $25 value. Yeah, so if you want to place a bigger order, you can get a free shirt. If you don't, that's fine too. You still get free shipping at $75. But the reason why I say, like, while we have supplies, I'm just testing the system right now. And our hope and our plan is to do more of it. But at a certain point, if we sell too many shirts, I'm going to turn it off because it's a bad user experience of like, you add everything in the cart and you're like, you're sold out of my size. I hate Aquarium Co-op. So we've got more shirts on order. We've actually got some special shirts that we're going to release. It'll be kind of fun. But you can technically do it as many times as you want until we run out of supplies, which I'm hoping, like, we have like 800 shirts in stock. So a lot. But if everybody burns through, like, oh man, we're out of mediums or something, like, oh, that's a bad experience. So, yeah. So if you're thinking about buying something big, or I mean, you got a big order to do, or you want to group buy with a friend, you can get a free shirt. Otherwise, you can buy a shirt. They're still worth the $25. We're just trying a thing out where I want to get some people some more shirts. Only for America? Yeah, only on our website. So, unfortunately, if you live in Canada, they don't have that deal. Just from us. I find Corys need more water flow in the beginning stages when hatched opposed to other fish. I don't know. I haven't really tested that. I've kind of just had luck with whatever I'm doing. They seem to do okay. I was wearing my co-op shirt in the live stream I was in a few days ago. Got to represent. Yeah. Really, where my brain went with this is Tyler Woodhouse asked like, what were my two takeaways from Keystone Clash? One would be, I don't know how to call the right group of people, but the true hobbyist is the key to the hobby and what I enjoy the most. Like other people that are excited about whatever's going on in their fish room, it doesn't matter. You're into that part's infectious. So it reaffirmed like this is why I love this hobby. And I got to experience that because I didn't have to run a booth. Then the second thing was I was looking around and I'm like, we could have so many more shirts being worn. We normally give away thousands and thousands of shirts at an event. And it also cost us, on average, an event would cost us $30,000 to go do. And it was a lot of money. And so I was like, but I still like people wearing our shirts because it makes it really identify like, hey, there's a fan. Hey, you know. And so I was thinking about it, I'm like, how do we do this? Because what was kind of a bummer when you give away shirts at a convention is you'd get people that have no idea who we are, but they're like, you got free shirts? I brought my 27 kids and all my cousins. We're going to need 80 of these things. And it's like, cool. Yep, let's get you 80 shirts. Where this way, I won't go broke giving you and your 80 cousins shirts. Instead, it's like, hey, if you spend money, $125, I can probably put this into a box and it hopefully will be sustainable. I don't know it to be sustainable. We're gonna find out. But that way, free shirts are still entering the hobby and to our fans, but not at the cost of like, there'd be families that would just get them for their kids that they're like, well, it could be a sleep shirt. Like, we'll find a way. Like, and then when they outgrow it, it'll become rags. And it's like, but these aren't your typical convention shirts. These aren't something that cost me $2. Like, these are very expensive shirts because they have 5 colors and they're high quality and they're not direct to consumer print. Because I don't believe in doing those shirts. Like, if we're going to put our name on it, it's got to be good quality. So we strive for that in everything, whether it's a shirt, whether it's a food, whether it's a sponge filter, we strive for that in everything we touch. We try to make it be the quality. In fact, when we're trying to launch these new shirts, we can save 17% by going to like just one color. And I'm like, yeah, and 17% is a lot when you're looking at $20,000+ in shirts, right? Like that's a decent amount of money. But I'm like, I don't want someone to spend the money, the $125 to get a free shirt, and then have them go, yeah, it's all right. Like, it's got to be the quality like you would just buy it. Like, this shirt is worth $25. People buy it all day long, and they like them. All the shirts we sell. It has to be the same thing. I don't want it to be, because I also wouldn't want it so like you get a free shirt and it sucks, and then you'd be like, well, I won't buy their other shirts. It wasn't very good quality. So even when you get it for free, we want to give you the right quality. So yeah, that's what we got going on, at least for now. Like, you could be listening to this on next Friday and maybe we've sold too many shirts and it's postponed till our shipment comes in because we got I think we've spun up one. The other one's still going through artwork review. Then they got to print all the shirts, then they got to ship them, and so we're outlaying a decent amount of money. So here's the thing we want to do. And yeah, if you already there's people that are like, oh, we already ordered that much. Great. You'll get free shirts. And then the goal, and so how could it possibly work for you, Corey? Giving away shirts, that's got to cost money. It does. In general, there's a big front load with our business. So if you order one tissue culture, it might cost me $10+ to ship it to you. If you order 20 tissue cultures, it costs the same $10. So if I can get you were spending, let's say, $75 to get free shipping. If I can get you to spend $125, I think we can afford to give you a shirt because, and not everything will work that way. Some of the bulky items don't work that way, but basically it doesn't cost proportionally nearly as much to ship the items at 75 to 125 as it does the first items. So in a perfect world, if you guys ordered a truckload of stuff to your house, it's way more efficient than one piece of one thing at a time. And so we're trying to help incentivize that of like, when you do these bigger orders, you will also get a free shirt. Yeah. Now, there might be some stores like Twin City Guppies and stuff in here that doesn't work for the wholesale side because we don't have the same margins, and you get free shipping and all that. So it doesn't work on that end. But the hope is also the free shirts will help you sell more stuff in the store too, because more people wearing the shirts, more people know about Aquarium Co-op. They're more likely to pull an item off the shelf and buy it from you. And so, yeah, something we're trying. So, yeah. I was shopping in the store last Monday. Is the shirt deal retroactive to a store shopping experience? No. Now, I know that'll feel bad, right? But nope, it's not a retroactive thing. And then also, it's not in our in-store. So a thing we've got going in-store in addition to this. So if you were, Dan, you're local, and the thing we're doing in-store, if you wear a shirt or a hat into the store, you get to spin the prize wheel. And you can get things like a thing of fish food, a sticker, easy shrimp and snail, dechlorinator. You basically get like an item. So it's a different experience there. So, and you could like, oh, what if I lined up all the things? Like I spend $125 online, get a free shirt. I wear that shirt in, and as long as you make a purchase, every time you go into the store, you can spin the wheel. And yeah. And again, that's in a trial basis too. If we find like, if there's people like every day, like what's the cheapest possible thing in the store? And I don't even know what it is. Like it's probably some item we don't sell online. Like, oh, it's one replacement suction cup or something. If we find that like everybody's abusing it, like, okay, we've ruined it, but if it's meant to be, you come in, you buy your fish, you do your thing, you wear your shirt in, great, spin that wheel. Yep, you get a free thing today. As a thank you for, you're basically advertising. We're willing to, it's basically like thank you for advertising. You're wearing our shirt around. We appreciate that. So yeah. And then part of the reason why we don't like, there'll be people that be like, oh, well, 1 week ago I was in 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I was in 7 years ago. And you'd be like, people don't do that. There are people that will try everything. And so it's easier, like there's pain no matter what time point we pick. It's best if we just say like, yep, starting from now on, that's the way it goes. And so that's the line, not the line of sand, but that's the time point we picked. And yep, doesn't work out for you, which is a bummer. I value you as a customer. You brought us cookies and you do things, and I appreciate that. But yeah, wear a shirt in or a hat. I think it's a hat and shirt only, and you can spin the wheel. But yes, so where I was going with that is different margins and things like that at the store. So if you spend $125 in the physical store, you don't get a shirt. If you do online, you do. And part of that is like our shirts are made in Florida, and shipping them from Florida to Kentucky is much different than shipping them to Washington. You've also got, different wages, and the retail store costs more to run than a warehouse. You got to heat the store. So still things going on at each, just different. And some could argue better in different ways. You can go spend $5 wear your shirt, spin the wheel in the store. Online, you got to spend $125. So different customers will be like, I love this and I hate that. But the alternative is we do neither of them. So I think it's clearly only a win for everybody. You got a chance to, yeah. Is the current shirt I'm wearing a part of it? Yes. All the shirts that we sell you could pick this one. Yep. So any of the ones that are on the website, you could pick it. When you add the $125 on the website, in the cart, you will see a scroller thing where you can like go through the shirts. If you click add one, it's going to ask you the size, and then it'll add it to the cart. You'll see it at checkout that you get the 100% discount on that. And yeah, so that's how that works. Yeah. All right. Lowest and highest valued item on the wheel. Probably lowest being a sticker, highest being Magic Small Fish Feed, Easy Community Pellet. Yeah. It's not like a wheel, it's got like 1,000 things. It has like 8 or 10. So like your odds of winning any specific one is like 10%. And so we can't put like a brand new car and then 1 out of every 10 people's winning a $50,000 car. So it's purely meant, it's a little, what do I want to say? It's like a free dessert or something. You know, you go out to dinner and like, hey, we got some extra dessert. You want some? Not like, well, if I eat dinner, do I get to own the building? Like, no, like we got to stay in business. So yeah, it's not some, you know, lottery where it's like one person's going to win a new iPad. Nothing like that. Just, you know, yeah. I can't spin the wheel anyway. I'm just excited. Yeah. I saw another business doing it. I go, I kind of like that. Like, I could see how that could be fun. And so we're giving it a try. And that's the easiest way to see if things work is you try it. And then you go, what do we think about that? Are people gaming the system? Is it love? Are kids having a great time? Are adults having a good time? Did we, you know, my hope long term, maybe we'll get, you know, other products. We'll rotate new products in and out. Like, hey, we want people to try this. Let's put that on the wheel. Or maybe we've got too much of something. Maybe we get way too many of a live plant. We go, put that on the wheel. Or, yeah. So my biggest thing is, as long as other people are having fun, I'm usually into it. The minute people start hating on it, I just go, oh, we can just go back to not doing it. Like, I remember it still haunts me that people will get livid in email that they're super pissed we sent them a free sticker. How can I make sure I never get a free sticker again? Ever. And we're like, you didn't have to pay for it. I know. I don't want these stickers. And then we go like, all right, you don't have anyone. I shouldn't have to give it to somebody. Like, you can recycle it. I don't want to recycle it. Like, okay, we will build a system to try and prevent you from getting a sticker. I'm very sorry you got a free sticker. Like, yeah. So that's how it ruins it for me. Of like, I was just trying to. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll never offer you cake again. I didn't know. All right. Well, that's enough whining from Corey today. If you would like to buy from us, we'd appreciate it. If you'd like a free membership, apparently Casey's giving them out. We got 5 more coming in at the last minute from Casey. What a rock star. And yeah. Is there a fish you brought into the store that you thought would sell really well but did not? 50% of them. So for instance, like, apparently we can't give away Bristol Shubunkins. Super rare. First time I can get them in my life. Been looking for them for 20 years. And $20 for a Bristol Shubunkin, not moving them. So routinely, I would say most things don't sell well. Like, if it's not a bread and butter fish, and that's why things are bread and butter, by the way, is everyone wants them. So the minute you're like, 2 years ago, you couldn't give away a Rosie Barb. I had to manufacture, like, I think they're cool. I like them. Look, they eat algae. Now people sell lots of them. Before that, like, I don't want that fish. No, mean, bad. No, not me. And so, yeah, we find that we have to do a lot of work of like, I got to show people how cool this is, though. Like, and I get it. Like, Why try new food if you already love cheeseburgers and Indian food and Mexican food and Thai food and this and that? Like, you already have all these good options. Yep. And as a business, it's like I should sell those options instead of like, but have you ever tried chocolate covered crickets? Like, even if they're really good, doesn't mean that everyone wants them. So I think it's cool that Aquarium Co-op doesn't upcharge based on size of shirts. As a large guy, I appreciate that. Yep. There's one price for everybody. If you wear a big shirt like me, same price. And also, the direction I gave was we will bring in every shirt that we can size-wise. So if that goes up to a 4X, a 5X, a 10X, do it. Because I know from being a big dude myself, it's a super bummer. Like, there was a company doing a free shirt thing, and they only sent out larges. So you spend your money, and I think theirs was spend $200, get a free shirt, but it is literally only a large. You need a small? Nope, you get a large. You need a 2XL? Nope, you get a large. You wanted a medium? Nope, you get a large. And I just was like, but that ruins the whole point of that. Like, great, you've now given me a shirt that doesn't fit me. That is absolutely useless. So my goal is, let's go all the way from small to probably 4 or 5X is where it maxes out, depending on the shirt we use. So even though like all of our shirts are the same Gildan shirt, they don't make them in the same sizes in every color. So, like, I think this one only went to a 4X, where the blue one will go to a 5X, apparently. So, if you ever see, like, well, why don't you sell this one in that size? Sometimes, literally, they don't make it. And so, it's like, oh. And then, like, yeah, like, Hanes might make it in that size, but the quality of that shirt's not very good. So, we're not going to go... We don't want to sell, like, two different shirts, like... Same print, but quality of shirts just to do different sizes. And obviously there's economy of scale. Like, well, if we buy 3,000 of this shirt, then it's cheaper than buying, 500 of this shirt, 500 of this shirt, 500 of this shirt. So, yeah, I will continue to cry until all tall sizes are available. I think you should just get your legs shortened. And maybe, there's a chance that this program becomes so incredibly awesome that somehow it makes sense for us to carry tall sizes and women's cuts and children's sizes. I don't think so, but, it's kind of like, what I saw a headline the other day of, like, so many things don't factor in people who are left-handed, even though 10% of the U.S. is left-handed. And the reality from a business standpoint is like, unless you're Ned Flanders making the Leftorium store and all your customers are left-handed, doing a thing like building your business around 10% of it is dangerous to a business. It's a corner case scenario. And I have no idea. For all I know, 50% of people need tall sizes. I actually have no idea when it comes to tall. But yeah. So maybe someday we'll have all the thingies. As of right now, we don't have all the thingies. We try to, the whole reason we carry big sizes, I used to order the size I wore disproportionately. When we ran our first shirts, I was like, 50% the size I wear, because if no one ever buys them, I will wear them. Like, shirts don't go bad. I have my work uniform at the retail store for the next 10 years if no one buys these. And I have, so... There have been times when I listened to people and I brought in kid sizes and women's cuts. And you know what I did? I lost $5,000 after like 18 months of us selling barely any, which was a big bummer. Because I don't wear a 4T, if you can imagine. Yeah, I don't wear the kids size. So... But again, we were quite a bit smaller back then, and it could potentially make sense if this program works well. Maybe we will do that. And I really want to say maybe because so often people will be like, you said, like, no, maybe. Like we We got to look into it. For all I know, kid shirts are more expensive. The other thing that I do know from doing it last time, like this artwork will not fit on a 4T shirt for a kid. You literally have to change the artwork, which means you have to buy more screens, which means you have to set up more prints, which costs way more money. So it's like, wait, it's going to cost me twice as much to print a kid shirt? No, we're not doing kid shirts. Like that's not going to make sense for us. And then you got to start designing different. So yes, it's a rabbit hole like everything in life. So if it makes sense, we'll do it. If it doesn't, we won't. We'll see how this goes. Right now, I'm just committed to giving away some shirts for a little bit. And if it works out well, sweet. If it doesn't work out well, I tried it. So thanks for hanging out. What did we peek at? Does it tell me? No, it only tells me afterwards. Right now we got 391 people. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like button. I won't see you next week, unfortunately. I'll be trying to, if I have internet, I'll try to post some pictures I take while I'm in the water / in the jungle in Brazil. Just give you little updates. I'm still alive! And I'll see you in a couple weeks for the Sunday scene, Otherwise, I do have a video coming out next week. I think I'll have another video come out next week after that if I can get it edited in time. And thanks for supporting us. And we'll see you around. Bye-bye.